So can you talk specifically about what kind of business challenges ONA can address?
I think it can probably help provide new insight on a multitude of business problems. But I think taking back to what we talked about with understanding who your key influencers are, that can be really important during a business transformation or change management process. Because if you can bring those people into the piece early on, they can help influence others within the organisation. And there's studies out there that suggest that if you identify the top 3%, they can almost affect change within 85% of the organisation, which is obviously really useful. I think wider though, if you look at some of the real challenges that people analytics leaders are facing, stuff around diversity. So there are studies out there that talk about the correlation with diversity and business performance. But I think ONA can actually start to understand, looking at diverse teams versus less diverse teams and starting to understand, is there a correlation there between performance? Then of course you've got to link it to inclusion as well. And I know Shell have done some good work in that space that suggests diversity is fine, but without inclusion, it doesn't really work. And that kind of lends itself into the whole wellness thing. So if you can identify with ONA who your high performers really are and who are the go-to people within the organisation that people go to get things done, you can also start to understand, who is at risk of burnout. And obviously what you don't want is your high performers and your high potentials potentially at risk of burnout and leaving the organisation. I think there's studies out there that suggest a lot of high potentials are actually quite poorly engaged because they're almost overloaded with work. And ONA can certainly help identify that. And actually one other area I think it can help is in the merger and acquisition space. So, if you've got one organisation that you're thinking of buying and they're telling you they've got a really good relationship with company X, you can actually use ONA to find out, well, who actually does have those relationships and how strong are those relationships potentially there, and with who within that organisation as well. So I think that's quite useful, and I think we'll probably increasingly start seeing it used as part of pre-merger and acquisition work.